Just take it nice and slow, and that's it. That's something we both know, and that's it. Oh, baby, take it slow. That's it.
And good evening and welcome to Red Card. I'm your host, Anthony Totera. Once again, we welcome you worldwide, and we thank you so much for making time out of your busy schedule to join us right here on nextsportstar.com like you've done for 6 years plus. This, your destination for grassroots, international, national, MLS. We talk about it all here on Red Card. What a jam-packed show we've got for you tonight once again, baby. The general manager of Toronto FC, Tim Bezbatchenko, will join us in 2 minutes' time. We'll talk about 2017, this season, and we'll talk about the off-season as well. And then at the bottom of the hour, one of the most important coaches in MLS today, and he will be, I believe, a legend and a Hall of Famer forever and ever, Dominic Kinnear of San Jose Earthquakes. He will join us. We'll talk to him about this upcoming year with San Jose and how important it is that they get into the playoffs and make some noise. But hey, just before we get to Tim Bezbatchenko and we take a quick commercial break, I want to start off with a sad note, a very sad note. Someone who has been unbelievable person in my life many years ago and a mentor to me, passed away. Hector Marinaro Sr. We worked together for 2 years with the North York Rockets in the Canadian Soccer League, side by side. And Hector, a giant, a true gentleman on and off the pitch, helped me in so many ways. And I will truly miss him. So many of us all over Ontario and Canada will miss Hector Marinaro Sr. He is a guy that has helped so many young men in this city. So many people know him in this community, and he will be deeply missed by me for sure, and by many. This guy was an unbelievable force for the Canadian kid, for the local kid, and he did so much good. Hector Marinaro Sr., rest in peace, my friend. I will miss you. I will miss that beautiful smile and the time you and I spent many lunches together, talking about lunches and talking about the game we love so much. You're a guy that I loved and respected so much back then. We'll miss you, Hector. God bless. God bless, my friend. We will take a quick commercial break, and then coming back, the GM of Toronto FC, Tim Bezbatchenko. Stay tuned right here on Red Card.
When we both started.
The last thing I remember was my mother saying to me, Giacomino, ti voglio bene, bedroom man, sangue mio. I gave her a kiss, and that was the last time I ever saw my mother. I'll tell you a story. Nobody with our people.
You want to talk to Jack?
I sell speed. I sell adrenaline.
Hey, I got enough trombone players in my band.
How are you, Jack? Everything all right? I love to shoot.
First, what you do is you pull your intestines out of your ass, and you tie them in a Windsor knot around your neck, and then you talk to Jack.
You're a good man.
Make no mistake about it, I'm not a good man. But if you're my friend, and you're my brother, and you're loyal to me, you're gonna tell me first.
I'll put my Beretta to my own head and blow my brains out.
That's good.
It's not over until you say it's over.
Now, I've got some things to talk to you about. Just cash your chips in now while you're still winning. Do you understand me, Jimmy? One day, you're gonna learn to respect me.
Some rats, you gotta kill.
You're not just one of us. You're family.
I know these guys, you don't. This is not over.
Nothing's gonna happen to you as long as I'm around.
I gave her a kiss, and that was the last time I ever saw my mother.
From the far reaches of the Orient comes an age-old recipe passed down from generation to generation. Introducing Cheetah Power Surge caffeine-free energy drink.
Here's the deal. Cheetah Power Surge is an all-natural blend of Chinese ginseng and royal jelly that gives you an all-natural burst of energy without the caffeine crash. Feel refreshed and revived with Cheetah Power Surge energy drink. Hey, life moves pretty fast. Cheetah helps you keep up. Cheetah Power Surge caffeine-free energy drink. Grab it, they're going fast.
Now in green apple and mango flavors.
Today what we're going to do is we're going to join rapini and cipollini together with some new recipes. Today I'm going to make you salmon alla cipollini with a little bit of rapini. We got some fresh salmon, which I cut myself. Beautiful. And put just a drop of Tabasco sauce, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt.
All of this, ooh, we felt deep in our hearts that it.
And welcome back to Red Card. I'm your host, Anthony Totera. And once again, thanks to Peter Vermees, head coach of Sporting Kansas City, joining us Monday night. We really appreciate him making time. And thanks so much to everyone that has taken time, especially right now, a gentleman that is busy getting ready for another season in MLS, GM of Toronto FC, Tim Bezbatchenko. Tim, welcome.
It's good to be here, Anthony. Thanks for having me.
Hey, pleasure's all mine. Really appreciate you making time, Tim. First and foremost, Tim, let's talk about the off season. It's a stressful roller coaster life for you and your family. That off season, obviously, it was bittersweet for you and all the players and staff. But did you take some time? Did you get away with the family? And did you forget the game a bit and enjoy them?
It's funny. I wish. Unfortunately, in this position, the off season is really the on season for the front office. So it was actually kind of during the tail end of the season when, you know, my work sort of decreases, and during that playoff run, I'm, you know, obviously enjoying it. It's nervous. It's nerve-wracking. It's fun, but and exhilarating in some ways. But it's really the off season when I get to work. So unfortunately, through the holidays, it's really sort of trying to balance the family with player acquisitions and with, you know, roster signings and re-signings. So unfortunately, not a lot of downtime, but that's okay. You know, we're raring to go, and guys are in preseason, and everyone's excited to be back, even though it was a short off season.
Tim, we hear from a lot of players when they go home after a tough loss or maybe a game that they didn't play very well, they don't want to discuss it with their wife or girlfriend. You're a GM, and you go on that roller coaster ride just like the players and coaches. Do you try and steer away from conversation of the day-to-day things that are happening with the club and not bring it home with, you know, a loving wife, and she's got her responsibilities at home as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a really good question. I think every player in front office person has a different situation at home. Luckily, my wife is not a big soccer fan, so naturally our conversations actually don't tend to be about TFC or the club, which is, I think, a healthy and good thing to maintain some balance. But obviously, there's other people at the club and who their conversations at home are probably related to what's happening. So I think it's different for everyone. But for me, it's luckily I didn't have to talk about MLS Cup too much at home and over the holidays. Although my family at home, who are, you know, as many know, are Columbus Crew fans, they while they were sad to see me lose, they also kind of they had a sort of a half smile on their face in some ways as well.
Nice family there, Tim. Nice family that they had that half smile. Talking about Ohio and Columbus, interested to get your quick take on Cincinnati possibly entering into MLS as an expansion possible city. I think that Cincinnati has done outstanding entering USL in that first year with the crowds that they've attracted. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, I actually, I'm from Ohio, and I went to law school in Cincinnati, actually at University of Cincinnati, where FC Cincinnati plays their games in Nippert Stadium, 30,000-seat stadium, or slightly more. And Cincinnati actually is one of, growing up, I knew that it was one of the largest soccer participation rate cities in the country, believe it or not. I think Southern California has since surpassed Cincinnati, but there's an enormous following of soccer fans, both boys and girls at the youth level. So I always knew it was going to be popular. Now, I don't think anyone predicted they're going to pull, 30,000 for, I think, for their playoff game as well as against their EPL opponent in the summer. I think it would be a great market. There's a lot of history in Cincinnati. It's a sort of passionate soccer crowd. So I think it would be great. And what I do think is I think it would help with the Columbus market. I think that rivalry, only 90 about 90 miles down the road. It separates the crew from what would be FC Cincinnati if they were in Major League Soccer. So I think it would be a great situation that I think would help both clubs.
Tim, let's get to it. Obviously, the talk in the last 7 to 10 days has been the rumors coming out of China and the agent Andrea D'Amico. He was on our show last week. I saw some of the quotes that you had mentioned, some of the things about that today. So I want to hear from you. People want to hear from you. You're an open, transparent guy. So let's get to it. Have you spoken with Andrea D'Amico after he announced there were offers from Chinese clubs yet?
Yeah, I have, yeah. So I spoke to Andre. Obviously, he made some public comments, which is obviously his right. And Andre and I are close and very professional relationship, and it's been a good one. He's presenting other players in addition to, he obviously represents more players than just Sebastian. So we're always working about and talking about players that, potentially have the opportunity to come to Toronto FC. When it comes to the interest in Sebastian, first and foremost, it's not surprising. We always have interest in him. But the second thing is what I told Andrea is, we're not going to respond to anything unless there's formal interest, right? There sounds like, Andrea has spoken to a group or to a club, but they have not approached us formally or informally, and so we're not going to respond until there is either a written offer or something that's substantive, right? That I could take to my ownership. So as far as right now, it's just it's a conversation, and obviously if something does come, we'll talk about it internally, and it'll be something I'll have to take to the board. But we're not looking to sell Sebastian. We do not want to sell him. He's critical to what we're doing and what we're building here, obviously, and he's one of the best players, if not the best player in the league. When it comes to scoring goals and being involved in the attack and providing an entertainment factor for our fans. So so there's obviously going to be interest in him, but we're not looking to sell.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because personally speaking, I'd be devastated for Giovinco to leave before he wins a championship here in the city of Toronto, because you and I both know he loves the city. He's starting to learn English. He's starting to get more and more comfortable. And you said it, he is the best MLS player today. And I think he will go down in history as possibly the greatest player in MLS. Let's talk about a possible extension or a new contract that might be on the table. Have you and Andrea set a meeting that you two will be getting together and discussing a new contract or an extension?
Yeah, those conversations are sort of always ongoing. Obviously, when a player is performing very well, then they want to obviously make sure that their contract reflects that. But at the same time, we signed a very good contract that benefits both Toronto FC and the player right now, and he's the highest paid player, the second highest paid player in the league. So it's something that we work through it, with the player and his agent. So we'll sit down. They're going to come in, and they regularly do visit Toronto, and we've had ongoing conversations for about a year on the topic, and when is the right time and to do something like that. But right now he's under contract, and obviously we expect him to fulfill his contractual obligations, which he's more than willing to do. But at some point, it might make sense to talk about an extension, yes.
Tim, this team is built to win now. They were inches away from winning it last year versus Seattle. I believe Larry Tannenbaum, all the MLS&E board will do anything to get a winner, whether it's with TFC, with the Leafs and the Raptors. I believe they will give you whatever you need. If you need to add a piece or two, whether it's in the middle of the summer or before that, will you be able to go to the board and Larry and say, hey, we have this, can we do it? Do we have your blessing?
Well, yeah, they certainly would. We always have their blessing to make an investment in players if it's needed to win, and that's the most important thing. But right now, we actually would not go to the board per se because we have the 3 designated players, and that's the only thing that would require us to go and sort of seek monetary means to acquire a player. Everything else is done within the salary cap. Obviously, Larry and the board are involved. We let them know what's going on with respect to trades and potential acquisitions and sales. But so when the summer comes, if we needed to make a move, it would all be done within the salary cap, unless and until we would have less than 3 DPs, which obviously isn't the case right now.
Tim, you've given a lot of space, and so has head coach Greg Vanney, to Canadian kids. Mo Babuli being one, Jonathan Osorio, Ashton Morgan, on and on. You've given the opportunities to Canadian kids. I've said this to you, to many. I thank you, the Whitecaps in Montreal, for doing that because it is so vitally important for our Canadian kids. I know for a fact, I don't know many people know this for a fact, and I'm sure that you don't want to talk about it, but I know for a fact that you continuously went for the longest time knocking on the door of MLS head offices to tell them how this was so wrong, the treatment of Canadian players. And we saw with Don Garber, Victor Montagliani, before the Montreal game here in Toronto in the playoffs, making that special announcement. And I got to give you credit for that because you believed in the Canadian player. You believed that this was wrong, and you've given that space to them. Let's get into some of the grassroots talk now, Tim. We know that there's a player that has a lot of interest, and his name is Ayo Akinola. I hope I'm pronouncing it well. And Ayo has interest, from what I understand, from clubs in Europe, but he also has options to go to school. Where are you with this young man? Are you close on the talks with his agent?
Yeah. Well, he hasn't gotten an agent yet because that would eliminate his possibility of actually going to NCAA, and I know he wants to keep that as a potential option. So right now he's been he's at the U17 U.S. National Training Center in Bradenton, and he's training to qualify for the World Cup. I mean, that's the most important thing for Ayo right now, and obviously provides him a developmental pathway toward taking the next step. There's a few players on that team who have already signed for the MLS teams. Those clubs particularly do not have a USL affiliate, so for every player on that team, it's going to be slightly different. And Ayo is a player that I've known since I've come here. He's been with our club for a number of years, and Greg, when he coached the academy, actually coached that team for a few months. So that team is a special team, the 2000s, and Ayo is one of many players that I think that has potential, not just for the TFC2, but for the first team. So we're talking to him. His mother, his brother also plays in our academy, and it's really just a matter of timing. When's the right time for him to make that next step? Because even if he does sign a contract now, Anthony, he would stay with the U17s all the way through the World Cup, which is, I believe, in September. So it would not be a situation where he would sort of play for TFC2 or the first team really like he did last year until probably after the World Cup. There might be a small window of time when he could. But we're talking with him. But there's a number of players on TFC2 and in the academy that we're having similar talks with because it's really important for us to start pushing through our youth. It's critical that we move our roster and our model toward what I've always said was our backbone of our team is going to be our young Canadians that are local Canadians from our academy. It doesn't mean we're not always going to have designated players, but I believe we're going to double the number of academy signings on our first team over the next 2 or 3 years. And so, Ayo would be part of those pool of players.
So, Tim, a couple more minutes of your time. We really appreciate it. Let's stay on that grassroots topic. So then you mentioned the grassroots, you mentioned the academy. Here's another question I have for you. What is the challenge for our local player that has been in your academy for many years, and it's so hard for him to become a first-team player? We've seen this, and some of the examples that we've seen recently have been with Chris Manella, Mark Anthony Kay, and some others. Jay Chapman had to go down and then come back up. Sergio Camarago, the same thing. I'm concerned that there's not a plan B, but also we know, Tim, that it's real hard to crack that small percentage to get to the first team. Tell us a little bit about that and your thoughts.
Yeah, so what I've seen is that the level of Major League Soccer over the last, I would say 3, 4, maybe 5 years has really gotten better, the first team level. Certainly our team has, right? The level of Toronto FC in terms of what we're doing every day in training has improved and gotten better. But across the league, so the jump between the academy to the first team to be able to start in the first team and contribute, it's a bigger jump. And what I've seen is with our players is they all have their own individual pathway. No two players are going to take the same steps. And one of the challenges we see is sometimes it's the maturity level. Sometimes they need to go away from home and experience life on their own, so that they learn, how to take soccer professionally, treat it as a job, learn how fortunate they are and how quickly it can be taken away through injury or through competition for the position. Those are the types of things that I see as sort of, most of our players need. So Sergio and Jay Chapman, they went down and experienced the NCAA culture, but they also were able to get away from home and become a little bit more independent. The players that stay in our academy, that's something that we have to sort of create a situation that's similar, but maybe it's not university, but perhaps they go on loan. That's what we did with Jordan Hamilton, who went to Wilmington, and he also went to Portugal for a short period of time. And we see that plays a major factor in their ability to jump up to the first team. But that's good, but there also has to be clubs that are willing to take on those players. Chris, unfortunately, was not able to sort of get that experience in terms of going away for a couple of reasons. But that's what we're looking to do for a number of our players, so that so that it buys them more time. They get another experience, sort of feather in the cap of seeing a different environment and getting them out of their comfort zone. So when they do come back, they realize that we have one of the best professional setups, not just in North America, but around the world. And they realize that what it takes to make it to the first team, and how they have the environment that allows them to realize their potential at Toronto FC, and that's the most important thing.
Tim, do you believe that Laurent is making headway with some of the youth clubs, a lot of the youth clubs in the GTA? You and I both know that in the last number of years there's been a lot of hesitation to build a relationship with a lot of youth clubs. I've always said this to you openly and to the clubs. If my sons were ever good enough and were called upon by TFC, it would be an honor. So to me, I don't understand where some of these youth clubs don't want to continuously, progress these players on, which would be the highlight, the pinnacle to your club, and then hopefully the first team. Is Laurent breaking through to some of these youth clubs that there's a working relationship, and it's important that we all are on the same page?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Laurent's done a great job. I mean, when I first came at the end of 2013, I know there was a history of sort of hit or miss with TFC's relationships in the market. And frankly, all MLS teams had a challenge because they were starting from scratch in 2007 when they started their academies, and a couple years later for TFC. But it's when you're breaking into the market for the first time, the local clubs, that's a change for them, and it changes sort of the landscape for everyone. And I think that's always challenging. It was always challenging for all the MLS teams. I think what we did for the first couple of years is look inward at ourselves to see how we could improve on the first team and in the academy. And then what we've done now is we have improved, obviously, in the first team. We set up our TFC2 setup. We restructured our academy into pods. We went down to all the way down to the U10 level last year. And so now we are looking to branch out. So Laurent, as well as Corey Ray, Stephen Caldwell, myself, and Bill Manning have really tried to reach out, along with our academy coaches, to provide and be a resource for the local clubs. We've forged a partnership with the OSA. We've created our regional identification and development centers in Windsor, in London, and then we're looking to do another one perhaps in the Kitchener-Waterloo area, as well as in the Ottawa area, to provide a center and a place where players, the younger players that are in those areas, can connect to TFC and be identified. It is challenging and a little bit frustrating and a little bit sad that some clubs that are in the local market do not feel like they should be giving their players to Toronto FC, or at least encouraging their players to enter into our professional environment, because it's probably the best situation for them if they're going to become professional soccer players. And so it's really about us educating those clubs and those parents that it's not to say that we do it the best and we have the best coaches, because there certainly is a great number of coaches out there. But the overall environment, in terms of walking through the halls and training at the field next to Michael Bradley or Sebastian Giovinco, those opportunities, frankly, cannot be said for the other local community clubs. So we want to provide them an outlet and be a destination for all the players. And frankly, if we at some point decide that they won't, be on the path where they're not ready, then we will obviously facilitate their movement back to their local club and stay in touch with that local club, and perhaps some other time that player will be ready. So again, it's about educating the market and letting people know that we want to work closely with all the clubs and be a final destination for a lot of the best players and not just the GTA, but all of Ontario.
Lastly, before we let you go, we really appreciate your time, Tim. Great signing, I think, with Chris Mavinga making his way over. I think that's going to help out quite a bit for your squad, and it was good that it was also free and nothing to pay on the other end. Tell us a little bit about your hunt of possibly looking for a right back to help Stephen Beitashour, number one. And number two, we know still that you're on the lookout for an offensive, creative midfielder, someone to help out there as well. Where are you at in those two positions?
Yeah, so obviously you've identified two areas that we're looking to improve, but at the same time, we feel like we have a lot of players in camp right now who could step in and fill those holes, and those, it's all about providing them opportunity, but at the same time, creating a competitive atmosphere so that it rises everyone's level. Everyone's level rises. So in terms of right back, we have Jordan McCrarian, who was drafted by New England, and he's on trial. He's shown well. We have Oyvind Alseth from Syracuse, who we drafted this year, who's done well. So we're going to see if, give them a chance. A couple other players that we feel like could fill in if necessary on the right, and we're looking at a couple midfielders, more internationally than in the league right now, to provide, like you said, that maybe a little bit more on the attack through the midfield. But we want to make sure that's right. We're not going to, we don't want to blow our budget. We don't feel like it's an absolute need for us to be competitive, but it will provide another sort of, it'll diversify our attack and our team so that Greg has the opportunity to play, whatever our preferred formation is, but provide different looks, especially if teams decide to sit back on us. So we're looking at a lot of players. If we wanted to do something, I think we could right now on a couple different players, but we want to see what we have in camp before we press a button on anything.
Tim, I can't thank you enough. On a personal note, you've always made time to say hello, to make small talk, and you've always been a true citizen of this city. I only hope that this year you guys can break the door down, win a championship for the city of Toronto, for all your club, because last year, leaving that game at the end of the game, looking at you and a lot of the TFC staff, Bill and Larry, it literally ripped my heart as a Torontonian, born and raised here. Even though I work in the media, I really felt for everyone involved. So let's hope this year you guys can break down the door and win it all for the city and for the club. Thanks again for making time, and good luck in 2017, Tim.
All right, thanks, Anthony. Thanks for having me.
That is Tim Bezbatchenko, class act. He took the time out of his busy schedule to join us, and we thank him. This guy here didn't shy away. He came on. He answered all the questions. That's why I got a lot of time for the guy. He's true, he's genuine, and he's a guy that's not going to hide behind anything when the kitchen gets hot, and he didn't. So class act, and really appreciate it. Joining us next, Dominic Kinnear, head coach of San Jose Earthquakes. Stay tuned right here on Red Card.
Could not miss. But now we keep fighting about all these.
With just a little bit of rapini and my favorite, cipollini. Oh, I love them. These onions are sweet. And I'm going to put just a little bit of wine and a drop of balsamic vinegar. I wish you could smell this. This is incredible. I'm going to put just a drop of extra virgin olive oil in here. And this is a quick dish, and it's spectacular. How amazing that is. Rapini with cipollini and gorgeous salmon. Oh my God.
D'Angelo Basket Fresh Cipollini in your favorite supermarket.
Life is timing, and timing is life. Things can change in a millisecond. Family is the most important thing in a man's life. Don't matter how many cars, how much cash, and how powerful he is. If he don't got no family, he's nothing.
Mr. Traficante, what can I do for you? I owe you and your family so very much.
I appreciate that you're meeting with me, but what I'm gonna tell you, you're probably gonna think I'm fucking crazy.
I want this fucking Sonny Traficante dead. He's costing us money. He's gotta be dead.
What should we do?
Let's just see how it plays out.
I want to be by myself tonight. You guys need to go?
What exactly is going on?
Santa wants people to leave. People gotta leave.
Yeah, look, he's gonna be at the jazz club tonight. And make sure that fucking piece of shit is dead.
Came here to ask you for a favor.
Anything.
I'm gonna go away. I don't know for how long. And I want you to take care of my family. I want you to give me your word of honor that you're gonna look after them.
You were with this guy all your life, and you betrayed him. Yeah, you delivered him to me.
Can I trust you? Because if I can't trust you, I have to come back and kill you. I swore to God that I would never tell anybody, because I don't want nobody to think I'm crazy. The last thing I remember was my mother saying to me, Jack, Giacomino, ti voglio bene, bedroom man, sangue mio. I gave her a kiss, and that was the last time I ever saw my mother. I'll tell you a story. Nobody with our people.
You want to talk to Jack?
I sell speed. I sell adrenaline.
Hey, I got enough trombone players in my band.
How are you, Jack? Everything all right? I love to shoot.
First, what you do is you pull your intestines out of your ass, and you tie them in a Windsor knot around your neck, and then you talk to Jack.
You're a good man.
Make no mistake about it, I'm not a good man. But if you're my friend, and you're my brother, and you're loyal to me, you're gonna tell me first.
I'll put my Beretta to my own head and blow my brains out.
That's good.
It's not over until you say it's over.
Now, I've got some things to talk to you. Just cash your chips in now while you're still winning. Do you understand me, Jimmy? One day, you're gonna learn to respect me.
Some rats, you gotta kill.
You're not just one of us. You're family.
I know these guys, you don't. This is not over.
Nothing's gonna happen to you.
Now I'm left with just two silver empty rings.
And welcome back to Red Card. I'm your host, Anthony Totera. Thanks again to TFC General Manager Tim Bezbatchenko joining us just before the commercial break. And also thanks again to head coach of Sporting Kansas City, Peter Vermees, taking time out of his busy schedule to talk to us about the upcoming season. But right now, it is my pleasure to talk to a legend in MLS and a guy that everyone knows, head coach of San Jose Earthquakes, Dominic Kinnear. Coach, welcome.
Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm very good, and pleasure's all mine to have you on. Let's talk, Coach, about your off-season first and foremost. We know that players, coaches, and general managers in the off-season, really, there isn't much time in any leagues, and, you know, you get right back at it. What did you do, Coach, in the off-season, you know, maybe just to unwind with family? Did you take off, and did you forget about the game?
Only for about a week. It was between Christmas and New Year's, and I try to go up to Lake Tahoe every Christmas time and go for a little bit of skiing and play in the snow with my kids. And that's what we did. But in between that, or we said before that and after that, it was all trying to get the team better for the upcoming season.
Outstanding. I want to ask your thoughts on this as well. I asked Coach Peter Vermes, and he brought it right out there in the open that the game is changing today. It's evolving. And as a head coach, you've got to keep on top of things and keep learning. And he was saying that he, in the offseason, wanted to learn more about millennials and how they, go about their daily routine and their daily life. Is there something that even an experienced coach like yourself maybe learned in the offseason that you'd like to do better?
Well, yeah, I mean, funny enough, I, along with Greg Vanny and some other MLS coaches, are involved in the U.S. Soccer Pro A course, which I took just after the draft and the combine in Los Angeles. And coach, don't think you know it all, but you think you have a good grip on a lot of things. But
we're just having a little bit of trouble with your line, Coach. I guess the cell phone is cutting in and out. We didn't hear your answer. Can you repeat it again, Coach?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah, I'm in this hotel in Arizona, and I think my room might be bordering California. I'm so far from away from the so I'm thinking my cell service may be a little bit difficult, so I apologize for that.
That's all right. But we were talking about,
Yeah, sorry. And to answer your question, yes, I wanted a couple of trips to watch some games. Obviously, you want to see the trends and what's happening around the world. And then from a learning point of view, I signed up for the U.S. Soccer A Pro course, the coaching license, which also Greg Vanny is a part of. And it was nice to be able to sit around with a lot of other coaches and share some ideas and obviously learn some tools that you can hope make you better in the upcoming season. I'm interested to hear what Peter said about the millennials. Peter and I are really good friends, so I'm going to ask him about that when I see him the next couple of days.
You should, because I was actually really shocked and surprised he brought that up. But, I'm a parent of two boys, and my sons, obviously, and as today's generation is, they're very social media savvy, and they look at things totally different than we do, Coach. And a lot of these young people that live in, let's say, in the big cities don't even want to drive anymore. They just want to take transit.
Yeah, I have two teenagers as well. Actually, I have three teenagers, and they're all a little bit different. But the one thing they're all very in tune with is the social media. They all follow the team and all the teams in MLS, and I think probably Peter would agree that, the attention span of the millennials these days, it comes in little quick hits from what they see in their telephones. So, and I think a lot of these, the players now are much the same. So I think the trend from teenagers to young adults, it is those attention spans. You got to keep them on their toes a little bit. And I'm sure that's the reason why Peter did the research that he did.
I've spoken to head coach Greg Vanny a number of times. I think he's a top quality guy on and off the pitch. And I'll ask you, as I asked also a couple weeks ago, the head coach at Chicago Fire, Veljko Panovic, and I want your thoughts on this. An open door policy, I believe, anyway, in talking to a lot of pro players, is important to them. Communication, telling them whether they're going to start or not, and why they're not going to start, and why maybe they're coming off the bench. You as a coach that has coached hundreds of games and played as an international, how important is that to have that open door communication to explain why and how you came about making that decision?
Well, I think it's huge, and I think it's one of the reasons why the young coaches age so quickly, because there is an open-door policy. Sometimes the message that you're giving to the player is not one that they want to hear. But I think as long as you're honest about it, and I think if you feel, if you're sincere with everything you say to the player, and you don't go back on your word, I think that player will trust you. We have and Frank Gallup was a coach that I coached with in the early years of my coaching career. And he always said a great one, and I've always tried to stand by that, is, that the player who walks through the door, he has a mom and a dad. And as dads, I think you want what's best for your kids, but you also want the person they're working for to be honest with them. So that's always in the back of my mind when I have the meetings with the players that I do.
Coach, let's talk about this season, getting ready in the preseason now. You're looking at, I'm sure, a few guys that can fill in and help out. Maybe someone surprises you and tries to win a starting spot. Your back end is solid. A lot of quality veterans. Marvell Wynn, who's been on our show. You've got Victor Bernardez, who is a rock-solid leader. He'd go through the wall for any one of his teammates. Let's talk about that back end. And also, up front, Chris Wondolowski. All the guy does is finish, and he has done that year in and year out. And to me, there might be a little bit of a concern that you might need some help up there with him. Your thoughts?
Well, there's not a little bit of concern. You're being very kind. There's a big concern as far as that goes, because you look at Chris, and not to say you're going to stamp him in for double-digit goals, but he does produce that every single year. And the last couple of years, our next top goal scorer was either 5 or 6. And I think, as you know, when you're covering Toronto, you have 2 or 3 goal scorers who are up around the 10-plus, and it makes you a more dangerous team. So in the offseason, we have a couple players coming in. We did sign Marcos Arena, who's a Costa Rican international, plays center forward. It's going to add to our forward line. And I think if you look at someone like Simon Dawkins, who I think had a real good year for us last year, but we want a little bit more production from him. And I think for us to be a playoff contender, we're going to need at least those double digits from Chris, as he is such a good finisher. Our back line is really good. I mean, and also led by, which I think is one of the better goalkeepers in MLS, and David Bingham. But for us, I think the defensive side of things, we've always been pretty sharp. I'm not going to lie to you, the last couple of years going forward, we've been a little bit dry. And I think it needs to come from various sources because we do know that Chris will get his double digits.
Coach, I mentioned this to head coach Peter Vermees on Monday, and we talked about that Western Conference. It's deadly. You can never take a game off because it's a battle each and every week. No disrespect to the Eastern Conference. It's like a Toronto-Montreal derby every weekend in that Western Conference, and it doesn't get easier. Obviously, you know that. You've seen it. And how important is that message to get across to your players right away, as soon as the season kicks off, that you can't be dropping points because to climb back in to a playoff spot will be almost impossible?
There, and you look at the teams in the offseason, the teams that did make the playoffs, they're all trying to rebuild and bring in some stronger players. And when you look at the Western Conference, Vancouver, I think, won the regular season conference last year, did make the playoffs, and Portland, who won MLS Cup, didn't make the playoffs. It just shows you the quick turnaround and the firepower the Western Conference has. Now, it's important to get off to a good start, and it's important to win your conference games. So that's kind of where you make your money. The home games are hugely important, but also on the road you need to pick up at least 5 or 6 wins. It's going to make you a playoff contender. So all these things we've looked at in the offseason, and it's a thing we're going to address with the players immensely over this preseason as we head to the first game, because they have to know it every time they step on the field. It's a chance not only to better themselves personally or in front of their own fans, but also in the Western Conference, which you said, it's a real tough one.
Coach, no longer can this league be considered the retirement league. I've been covering this league since day one. I'm in touch with a lot of agents in Italy and in Spain, players, coaches. They now look at this league as a league that is a serious league and has to contend with, obviously, the crazy money from China to attract players. But how, in your mind, how in your eyes, have you seen the way it has evolved? We heard yesterday about all the expansion and all the cities that are vying for a possible franchise. We see that Pacific Northwest, Coach, Portland, Seattle, Vancouver. It's a crazy European atmosphere like it is here with Toronto, Montreal. In your estimation, in the last 5 years, how much is this league taken off for the better?
Well, I mean, taken off, it has changed tremendously. I think Toronto really kicked it off, and when they first came in with the crazy fans and the season ticket holders and the waiting list, it was just mind-boggling numbers as far as franchises go. And then the follow-up with Vancouver and Seattle and Portland, even Kansas City redoing their and revamping their complete organization has been wonderful. So the last 5 years it's been wonderful for the sport. The fan participation and the supporters groups have been tremendous. Obviously, the TV and the coverage goes with it. And then the players, like you said, it's really not a retirement league anymore. And I think the message is out. And I think, and you go back a couple of years, not to go too far back, but I think we still owe a lot to David Beckham, and the effect he's had in this league. It was a slow trickle down, but obviously the boom from our investors has made it such a loud, I think, noise on the footballing world. So, it's a wonderful league. It's grown. Obviously, the economics have gotten better. The play has gotten better. The fan participation, everything you look at, facilities. It's crazy that the changes made in the last 5 years.
Coach, you've coached in 2 different states now, Texas and the state of California now with San Jose. I believe those 2 states are unbelievably taking off in the youth level. We know that Texas, they've got a lot of pro appetite. Houston, FC Dallas, there was San Antonio in the NASL, on and on. Austin, Texas, now in California. I mean, it's going crazy out there. How important is it that we start seeing in other states that it continues on for the young American player to keep on developing, whether at a youth club or an academy, to aspire to play in MLS or even at a higher level in Europe?
Yeah, I mean, it's you're talking about a big country here, and when you mention California and Texas, you're talking about two of the states that have the bigger populations, So there are some wonderful stories out there, maybe the lesser-known states, but I think as the MLS and their satellite academies kind of reach out to other places, you're going to see some better some other players making some strides from lesser-known states, So I still think Middle America, when you think of Iowa and Oklahoma and Nebraska, they maybe are not being touched yet. But obviously, we know that the athletic ability of some of the young people in those states, so they turn their attention to soccer. Obviously, it's better for everybody, But I think for the most part, like you said, higher populated states, the ones that are kind of producing the players. Let's not forget the East Coast and all the great players come out from there. But I think the academy system that's going on now is only a benefit for everybody.
Coach, let's talk about Team USA just for a bit before we let you go. And you know, they're getting ready for some important World Cup qualifying games. Bruce Arena now taking over. And as a matter of fact, I'll tell you now that I got you on the line. When the opportunity was there that Canada didn't hire at that time Benito Floro as their head coach, I gave out my top 3 list here, and I gave it right to the president of the CSA that time. And I won't, you know, I'm not going to shy to say it. I said the first one on the list for me would have been Bruce Arena, and right next under him would be Dominic Kinnear, because you have the experience of MLS, you have the experience of North American players, you know CONCACAF. I believe, and I want your thoughts on this, that if the USA can really start understanding and getting an identity, that they could be knocking on the door of a Final Four, whether in Russia or Qatar. I truly believe they have all the tools necessary. Am I off my rocker, Coach?
No, you're not off your rocker. I think they have the talent. Obviously, in a tournament like that, you need a lot of things to go your way. You need a little bit of luck. You need good help.
Oh, we just lost them again, the cell phone. Are you there, Coach? We just lost Coach again. Unfortunately, that cell phone cut out. There you go, Coach. Yeah, we got you again.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to stand in a good area here.
That's okay.
No, I think Bruce Arena is, you know, there was an identity formed in the mid-90s to the late 90s. And not to knock Jurgen Klinsmann, but it almost took a little bit of a different turn. I think Bruce is probably trying to bring it back to what he wants, because obviously he's the coach now. So, yeah, I think he understands the American player great, as did Jurgen Klinsmann. The results didn't go the way we were hoping, and obviously there's been a coaching change, but I think Bruce is a great guy to get the U.S. soccer right on track again.
Coach, just before we let you go, we thank you so much for your time, but I want you to talk to the young coaches out here in Toronto and in Canada and all over North America. I want you to give them some tips. I'm a parent of 2 boys. You're a parent. My 2 sons have gone through the system here, and I've seen too many times youth coaches wanting to win at all costs, that $2 trophy, that $2 medal, and forget about that young boy on the bench and not giving them the opportunity to dream and play. What advice would you give that coach before they decide that, hey, I want to coach young players out there and really make a difference? What would you say to them?
Well, I'd say first they would have to ask themselves why they want to coach. You know, and if the reason's not for the kids, then maybe they should think about doing something. The reason is for the kids and for the kids that enjoy sport. Then you have to move on. And I think the movement on is they're being prepared as far as what you want your kids to do on a certain day, and really take joy in their progress. You know, obviously, you make a point. Sometimes it's all about winning and losing, and a lot of kids get turned off by that. So I think the first thing a guy has to do is, do I really want to do this? Why do I want to do it? And if all the answers are pointing away from him and to other people, then it's the first step that he can have to being a good coach.
Coach, thank you so much for making time out of your busy schedule. Good luck in 2017, and I hope hopefully one day in the offseason you could make your way up here to Toronto to talk to a lot of the young coaches and explain to them the do's and don'ts in the game, because you've been through it all as a pro and as a player. You've walked the walk, and we really, really appreciate your thoughts and your experience to our audience. Coach, thanks again, and good luck this season, my friend.
Well,
and we just lost him once again, but that is the head coach of San Jose Earthquakes. He is a class act and a true gentleman. He is a legend in North America, and the guy is a winner and an outstanding guy off the pitch as well. Head coach of the San Jose Earthquakes. We'll take a commercial break. Coming back, we'll tee up some other topics on my mind to discuss next week here on Red Card. Stay tuned.
Please take my hand and try to understand. Just hold on for now.
As long as I'm around. I gave her a kiss, and it was the last time I ever saw my mother.
From the far reaches of the Orient comes an age-old recipe passed down from generation to generation. Introducing Cheetah Power Surge Caffeine-Free Energy Drink.
Here's the deal. Cheetah Power Surge is an all-natural blend of Chinese ginseng and royal jelly that gives you an all-natural burst of energy without the caffeine crash. Feel refreshed and revived with Cheetah Power Surge Energy Drink. Hey, life moves pretty fast. Cheetah helps you keep up. Cheetah Power Surge Caffeine-Free Energy Drink. Grab it, they're going fast.
Now in green apple and mango flavors.
Today what we're going to do is we're going to join rapini and cipollini together with some new recipes. Today I'm gonna make you salmon alla cipollini with a little bit of rapini. Got some fresh salmon, which I cut myself, beautiful, and put just a drop of Tabasco sauce, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt, and put just a little bit of rapini, and my favorite, cipollini. Oh, I love them. These onions are sweet, and I'm gonna put just a little bit of wine, and a drop of balsamic vinegar. I wish you could smell this. This is incredible. I'm gonna put just a drop of extra virgin olive oil in here. And this is a quick dish, and it's spectacular. How amazing that is. Rapini with cipollini and gorgeous salmon. Oh my God.
D'Angelo Basket Fresh Cipollini in your favorite supermarket.
Life is timing, and timing is life. Things can change in a millisecond. Family is the most important thing in a man's life. Don't matter how many cars, how much cash, and how powerful he is. If he don't got no family, he's nothing.
Mr. Trafficante, what can I do for you? I owe you and your family so very much.
I appreciate that you're meeting with me, but what I'm gonna tell you, you're probably gonna think I'm fucking crazy.
I want this fucking Sonny Trafficante dead. He's costing us money. He's gotta be dead.
What should we do?
Let's just see how it plays out.
I want to be by myself tonight. You guys need to go?
What exactly is going on?
Santa wants people to leave. People gotta leave.
Yeah, look, he's gonna be at the jazz club tonight. And make sure that fucking piece of shit is dead.
Came here to ask you.
It's gonna work out somehow, and that's it. Just take it nice and slow, and that's it.
And welcome back to Red Card. I'm your host, Anthony Totera. Thanks again to the head coach of San Jose Earthquakes, Dominic Kinnear. Coach, thanks so much for making time. Don't worry about your cell phone cutting out there in Arizona. It happens. Enjoy 2017. Good luck as well. And thanks again to TFC General Manager Tim Bezbatchenko joining us live from a training camp down in the LA area. Thanks again to Tim Bezbatchenko. Hey, listen, just before we close it out, let me get a couple things off my chest. Before I take a couple things off my chest, let me give you a quick update. A lot of people have been tweeting at me, asking me what's going on with CPL. Well, I'll give you the latest. Nothing right now. There's a lot of things happening behind the scenes. People are doing what they need to do. They're making sure of a lot of things. A lot of people are having talks, on and on, a lot of good things. So we need to just sit tight, we need to relax, and we need to just wait. And at the right moment, word will come out of some things, hopefully sooner than later. I've said this time and time again. Trust me, believe me, this will happen. If it doesn't happen, then boy, oh boy, it's a colossal bad look on me. It's a colossal disaster in many, many ways for Canadian soccer. We might as well forget ever again trying to set up professionally coast to coast, because if we can't do it this time, we'll never be able to do it ever again, because under the leadership of Victor Montagliani, who is still the CSA president and CONCACAF president, this guy has done a lot of good things. And people are going to say, well, Anthony, that's because he's your friend. You're going to say that. No, let's be brutally honest here. He's pushed a lot of buttons. He's pushed some people out the door that didn't need to be in the way. He's ruffled some feathers for for the betterment of the game in this country. He's stepped on toes that needed to be stepped on. And the guy is a progressive thinker. He wants to hopefully try and bring the World Cup here for Canada. Part of it, which would be fantastic. He's thinking big and long term for this country about getting a professional league going coast to coast. Under his watch and under the great work that Peter Montopoli, the General Secretary, is doing and their staff, things have changed tremendously over the last few years, I would say, where I would say maybe 5-10 years ago, CSA to many people here in this country, Canada, was an evil word. Was something that people laughed at, was something that people continuously threw darts at the dartboard. And no longer is that happening. Maybe some still might want to do that, but let's be honest and realistic and have a look at what they've done recently, which is a lot good. And so let's hope they continue on that path as well. And lastly, again, I want to talk about the kids out there. And leaders, listen up. I've said this before, I'll say it again. To the leaders out there, all over, listen, digest, communicate properly, stop being arrogant, condescending, that it's either your way or the highway, that I have all the answers and you don't have the answers, that I'm the only one to get things done, and whether you want to listen to me or not, partners, then too bad. You can't be like that, because if you're going to be a leader, you need to work with everyone. You need to build bridges. You need to listen. You need to share your plan and your hope on the journeys that you're intending on going on with your partners. And your partners need to buy in and they're all on board. If not, then you need to look in the mirror as a leader and say, hold on a second. What am I doing wrong? Hold on a second. Are the people below me that are working with me doing everything they need to do so that I can shine, so that the whole program can shine? Those are the things that need to be asked. My stomach turns and I get upset when kids are used as pawns. That's disgusting, disrespectful, and actually deplorable. That can't happen. These are adults that are in rooms, on computers, with papers, making decisions, doing things that they think are right in their mind, and a lot of times they're not. So take a minute, step back and think about what you're doing. Think about what you're doing. Hey, my producers, Jordan, Derek, behind the scenes, they thought a lot about what they were doing before the show started, and they knocked it out of the park. Well done to Jordan and Derek, guys. Great work. Again, thanks to TFC General Manager Tim Bezbatchenko. I know my producer Jordan's going to work his magic, try and cut it up as quick as he can, and we'll try and post it up tonight. And again, also thanks to San Jose head coach and a legend in MLS, Dominic Kinnear. Coach, thank you so much. Thank you out there. God bless you for making this your destination. Next week, live, never pre-tape, Monday and Wednesday. Good night.
That's something we both know, and that's it.